Hey guys, Rich Meyer here with the Tool Swing. I'm going to try to do a quick video of how to mount tool swing with a bench grinder on it. First, you're going to want to set your tool swing up here where you can see kind of where you want to mount your bench grinder. Furthest forward is usually the best. That way you can mount your tool swing back further. So this thing right here is where the cord goes, so it don't get pinched, so you can run it underneath and plug it in wherever, up on the wall or wherever you have an outlet handy. I'm going to move this one about far forward as I can, just for you guys to see how I'm going to measure back for where the bench would be. So right now, I'm going to say that's pretty good. I'll measure it center, later, but I'm just going to try to get it set up. So I'm going to take a square. Get this thing set up, and then I'm going to measure. I'm going to just square it up here. So that's the far back plane. So I'm going to imagine the bench would be, hope you can see this, I'm going to slide it back an inch. Just going to guess. So right there is where I would mark where my bench would be. So that way it'll swing up and clear the bench, and you'll make maximum use of, basically, so it doesn't stick out so far. I like it not to stick out as much as possible. Keep it back as far as possible. So there's my mark. So then I would go and measure back to the first hole. So there's my mark. So I would mount this. The first hole is right about 6 inches, 5 3/4, 6 inches. So then I would measure from the edge of your bench back that 6 inches, and that's where your first hole would be. And then that way, it's the tool swing setting back, and then it'll flop up. And so once you put it up, your bench grinder is going to be sitting as far back as possible without hitting anything. That makes sense. So I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be mounting this tool swing far forward as possible, because I'm going to be mounting different things on to show you guys. So I'm going to mount it even with the edge of my bench, just so whatever I put on here, I'm going to have enough room, because I'm going to be changing out different tools on there, maybe doing videos of different things. So I'm going to mount it differently than what I'm going to tell you to. But if you're just going to keep a bench grinder on it, like I said, just measure, so your bench grinder isn't sitting way out in front of your bench. It's just nice to have it when it's cocked up. You want it sticking out as minimal as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this transfer punch. I don't know if you've seen these. You can get them on Amazon. I'm going to leave a link. These are sweet. So once I flip this over, you can stick this transfer punch in there. You get this. You know what I'm doing here. You put it in, and then you push down, and that squares it up. When it pushes down, it squares it up and also keeps you centered in the hole. And then you can go ahead and then center punch it. I'm going to flip this over and do it, but I think it'll be easier for you to see how it works. They're slick, because then that way all the guesswork's done. It doesn't matter what size of hole you got. I think it'll go up to maybe 3/4. I know it'll do 5/8. So I'm not sure. And anything smaller, I think they come in 2 different sizes. I just have this one size. It works well for most everything I do. Even this little 1/4 inch hole keeps it perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bench grinder off of there. And I'm going to flip the tool swing over and start mounting it. I just wanted to show you guys that. So hopefully that kind of tells you a little bit about how to align it with your workbench. And like I said, I usually just use leave an inch gap between the back of your tool and where you think the workbench is. That way, because as soon as it starts going downward, it's going backwards. So you want to leave about an inch room there. All right, well, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and mount this. I'll Get back to you in a second when I get it all mounted. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm going to show you a couple things. First thing we want to do, which I didn't show you earlier, is when you have your tool swing up here on the bench, you're going to set whatever you're going to mount on here first. And there's a latch right here that releases the mechanism to go up here. Get it up here where you can kind of deal with it. And so you're going to make sure you got clearance everywhere. I don't know, you can see, if you're going to set your bench grinder where you want it, make sure you got clearance. Sometimes you may have to slide it forward. Like, so I'm just going to show you, like if I have it back here, or maybe your bench grinder is bigger. I'm going to swing this up. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm hitting here. So you might have to adjust where your bench grinder is going to go. So right there's, I got plenty of clearance, and it's not going to hit there. So I know I can't go further back than that without it hitting. So the next thing we're going to do, we know I don't like to mount them that far back. I like to mount them up here anyway, somewhere, you know, close to the front edge. That way we can implement what we talked about with the bench position. Let me get this cord strung through there. So now what we talked about was the bench position maybe being an inch away. Hope you can see that right here. Well, generally, that's why I want to leave an inch so it'll drop down. The bench is going to be quite a bit taller than what this platform is, so it should clear as long as you give it like an inch. And that's what I like to do generally to keep the tool swing and your tool from sticking out so far like I have, like I'll show you here in a second. I got the other one mounted, and I'm going to shut the video off and show you what I'm talking about sticking out so far. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to go ahead and set this bench grinder back on the one I already mounted. And I mounted it as far as I can away from the workbench here. And that's only because I'm going to be using this one for mounting different things on. So I didn't want to remount it a bunch of different times. So I put it as far forward as I can. I put it back an inch, but I could have put it back, could have put it more forward, but ideally I would put it, I got my holes drilled for the bench grinder here, and I've got it set up right there. That's where my holes are drilled, and that's where it's going to be mounted. But you see how far this is? It's just sticking out away from the bench so far. So I could have mounted this whole thing back to where this bench was lined up about an inch behind the bench grinder here. I'm going to show you that. It would have worked fine. And then that way your bench grinder isn't sticking so far out. I could have went where my bench was about right here. So I could have went back. I'm going to say another about 5 inches. I could have mounted this whole thing back about 5 inches and still had clearance to drop it down. See all this room here? I'm going to just measure that while it's going down. Yeah, I could have went about 5 more inches back and it would have still cleared. Right there's at 5. So keep that in mind when you're mounting them. You might as well maybe give yourself an inch. And that all kind of depends on how far, you're just gonna have to try it because every bench is gonna be different. You might be mounting it on a wood bench. Therefore, you might have to give yourself a little bit more room forward rather than I'm giving myself an inch when I do that. Might want to give yourself 2 inches depending on how thick your bench is. Because the further down it's going to be, the quicker it's going to hit. So you just have to do some trial and error, but anyway, I've got this one set up.